Good evening and welcome to The Big Fight, a show that is young at 22, the oldest running debate show on Indian news television. I'm Sanket Upadhyay. The pride of India, the IT hub of the world, the Silicon Valley of the South, the land of culture, the land of revolution, the land of unity and diversity, and now the land of an open laboratory of hate. We are talking about Karnataka. From hijab to economic exclusion of non-Hindus from temples, to now some sort of an important fight, according to these fringe groups, over the type of non-veg to eat, halal or jhatka. Just what exactly is happening in Karnataka? Is this the state government stirring the communal pot ahead of the next year's elections? What is the grand design behind all of this? And as it is true in Karnataka, it is true in Rajasthan, it is true in Uttar Pradesh, in West Bengal, when an incident happens, because law and order is a state subject. So if it will happen, if Birbhum happens in West Bengal, we are going to question the West Bengal Chief Minister. If there will be incidents of Dr. Archana Sharma happening in Rajasthan, then Ashok Gehlot will be questioned. If there will be an incident of a journalist in Balia being put in detention simply because he exposed the paper leak scam, we will question Yogi Adityanath. Similarly, if there is an act of this kind, a very open experiment with hate, then questions will be asked of the Karnataka Chief Minister. So on The Big Fight tonight, the big question that we are asking, has Karnataka become the latest hate laboratory, the hate factory in India? Let me introduce our guest this evening, the senior leader in Congress of the Congress Party and former Law Minister Veerappa Moily with us, Nasir Hussain, leader of the JDS, also with us, Sabah Naqvi, author and journalist. Thank you very much for joining us. We also have Professor Geeta Bhatt, is a political analyst opposed the RSS and the BJP. Harish Bijur, brand expert and founder of Harish Bijur Consults. Pooja Prasanna, reporting head of the News Minute. And Ranbir Singh Pathania, spokesperson of the BJP. We also have Captain Ganesh Karnik, spokesperson of the BJP in Karnataka. This is an important discussion that we are going to do right here to understand what exactly is happening in Karnataka. And we'll begin this with what we call the first punch, where each of you panelists get 1 minute of time for your opening comments. We'll begin with you, Mr. Moily. Your time starts now. Do you think Karnataka has become the new hate factory, the hate laboratory?
Most unfortunately, recent developments have definitely changing the face of Karnataka, the history of Karnataka. And, if the history of Karnataka is written not today, yesterday, it's since more than thousands of years. The first Kannada poet, Pampa, he said, Manava Kulam Onde. That means the entire humanity is one. This is what it was said. Your Upanishads and Vedas, they said. The space between Himalaya and Kanyakumari. All Indians live. And, they never said, the name, whether the Veda, Upanishad or the Kannada literature or the Kannada history. They accommodated everybody, not distinguished between, men and women, which community they were. The minority, Muslims particularly, they constitute 15.1% population.
Correct.
And, the entire world, 24% constitute the Muslim community. Now, all of a sudden hijab came out. And it was nowhere. In my own district, that is Udupi district, it came out. And they were, wearing this hijab. Correct. It's not a new thing. Suddenly, the lorry loads of saffron clothes came from Ayodhya or all places of India, dumped into the world. And again, they started wearing it. And clashes come.
So you're saying that this is by design?
All these disputes would have been
Okay. I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Moily. Captain Ganesh Karnik, you've heard what Mr. Moily says. He feels that all of this is being done by design and very, very unfortunately. What's your view? Your opening comments, please.
Mr. Upadhyay and all the co-panelists, my good evening to all of you. Thanks for this opportunity to be on the panel. I respectfully quote what Mr. Veerapalli said, that Manavo Kulam Vande, the entire mankind is one family. But the question is, does it apply to many others who don't think that Manava Kula is one entire family is one? People don't agree with that. I totally disagree with what Mr. Moily said. The issue started not by saffron shawl wielding student community of neither of facts were saffron there. People started insisting on a separate identity after 2.5 months of academic year starting. Why didn't you start the same education when you went to join the college? Why did you not insist on this is our religious practice, we have to be allowed to do it? So there is an instigation to create a separate identity, and that was taken up to international level.
Okay.
Now this happened because somebody wanted it to happen.
Okay.
So I don't agree that it was...
Okay, that is just one of the things. And by the way, you've got an intervention from the court also, so I can understand. But there are so many other things. For instance, the type of meat. I mean, it is ridiculous. And you've got industrialists now who are openly speaking up and saying that this economic exclusion is going to harm Karnataka.
Yes.
Harish Bijur. I'll come back to you. Mr. Karnik, I'm going to come back to you, Captain Karnik.
Okay, fine.
Harish Bijur, your opening comments, please.
Okay, my 1 minute. And I'd like to focus on a very limited perspective. And that limited perspective, possibly even a limiting perspective, is that of business. For me, I speak from the business perspective, and if I really look at issues which are occurring at this point of time, they're not good for business. Because for me, any kind of tumult, any kind of uncertainty is not good for business. And Bengaluru today is the capital of a lot of business. Medical tourism, which comes from across the world, and IT, ITES, the obvious ones, biotech, etc. So if you really look at it, I think we are churning the pot when the pot need not be churned. Our Chief Minister, Mr. Basuraj Bommai, is actually a very calm, thinking and sober Chief Minister. He is not prone to irrational outbursts and irrational action. So I'm really hopeful that, within the CM's constituency, there are several issues, right? There is the political, there is the economic, there is the social, there's the cultural, there's the religious. I think the economic is very important for Bengaluru. Because Bengaluru is a business capital today.
Correct.
We house a country of people.
But
Harish, country of people.
Yeah,
and it's important.
A minute is over, but Harish Bijur, the point is, I'm not going to, I don't think we should build a case to perhaps discount the Chief Minister. Law and order is a state subject. All of this is happening. As I said at the very beginning, Sabha Naqvi, if something happens in West Bengal, Ms. Mamta Banerjee has to answer. Something in Rajasthan, Ashok Gehlot has to answer. Something in UP, Yogi Adityanath will be questioned. Similarly, Mr. Bommai cannot hide behind the fact that he is a very good human being. If he is not a good administrator and not being able to control, then one must not care for the goodness of his heart. Your opening comments, please.
Absolutely, Sanket. You may recall many months ago you invited me for the first debate on hijab, which I joined.
Yes.
And you thought it was an experiment. And there was a BJP spokesperson, I think a Mr. Malik from Haryana, who was shocked that girls were not being able to attend school. Now, and you said in that program, is it the beginning of an experiment? I'm just reminding you. Now, a couple of very, very quick points. Clearly it is. I have written about this. So polarized, so you have a sort of experiments, political experiments in polarization are now par for the course. They are part of every electoral journey. Sometimes, a lot of the time they work, they also fail. Mostly, they failed in Delhi with that Goli Maro and all of that. They failed in Bengal. But I don't think UP was about polarization. It was about other things, even though Karnataka has elections in a year from now. And suddenly we are seeing these issues just come, on fire. I'll just make one very, very quick point from the civilizational level. even in the IT industry, in Karnataka, Bangalore, is that not where Azim Premji's company has come up? And let me talk about classical Indian music. The greatest gharana, arguably, is the Kirana Gharana, which has actually taken great fluence in Hubli Dharwad region. The founder of it was somebody called Ustad Abdul Karim Khan. It had a journey through Maharashtra, and that is where the great singers in the Hubli area, where that Gharana, so the mixing of cultures, all of that. And I mean, I don't know, is Azim Premji not from that same state? Is he the biggest philanthropist India has? So you can start banning the clothes that some people, some Muslim girls want to wear. You can throw them out of, force them to be out of college. And I will go back to your program where a BJP spokesperson, not realizing that this was part of a project, said, how can you in India stop people from wearing what they want to wear if they believe it's crucial to their religion? And I have never worn the hijab. I'm speaking about personal freedom, but forget that. Now it's extended to livelihoods.
Okay.
So I'm saying it again. Who is Mr. Azim Premji? I mean, is that the IT industry or not?
So I think the point
is
that
the biggest philanthropist
is
in
the,
India
as Mr. Harish Bijur also said, this is just bad for business.
Do they know anything about classical Indian music?
This is bad for
you know,
industry, this is bad for economy, this is bad for culture. Whatever is happening is just plain and simple BAD.
Yeah.
Pooja Prasanna is the reporting head of the News Minute, is also with us. Pooja, do you think this has a lot to do with the story that the News Minute filed, where it said that many of the contract workers are saying that they opted for the BJP, they voted for the BJP, and that now they're fed up of the 40% bribe that they have to pay? Is this an attempt to hide these real issues?
You know, I have been listening to other panelists, Sanket, and yes, it is bad for business, it's bad for economy, it's bad for image of Karnataka. But what is most worrying for me is the fact that there are real people and their lives at stake. Their way of life, their way of food, their education, everything is being threatened. And that, I think, is the core issue, and we should not overlook it. As far as your question is concerned about whether these are distraction tactics, I would say partially yes. In fact, over the last few days, you know, a few conversations that I've been having with a few BJP leaders, my understanding is this, that it's a combination of 3 or 4 factors, and it is not as systematic as many people would like to believe. The first thing I think is, despite Mr. Bijur's testimony that Basavaraj Boma is a nice person and all of that, and we too had written extensively when he did take charge that perhaps he could continue a fairly secular kind of BJP that his predecessor Yediyurappa had been espousing here in Karnataka. But you know what has happened is a electorally weak chief minister has meant that all the fringe elements have taken over the state. Your Bajrang Dal, Hindu Jagran Vedikes of Karnataka at this point of time seem to be setting the narrative much more than the government is, and the chief minister, who's too scared to take on all of these organizations, is simply tagging along and making.
No, but then this argument may not work. I mean, if you are not being able to take, then take on these people, the fringe. First of all, I don't think that they should be qualified as fringe anymore.
Not anymore.
They should not be qualified as fringe anymore because of what they are doing. They seem to be getting approval and acceptance. And if the chief minister is weak, that is not something that can go in his favor. I'm a very nice human being. I don't like saying anything to individuals. When then that's bad. You're a bad administrator. As simple as that. Mr. Pathania, you know, states are not run from the goodness of people's heart. Sir. You need to be a tough administrator as well.
Sir. You see, with due respect and all humility, first of all, towards all the panelists and especially towards a very, very senior Congressperson, Mr. Moily sir, I'll say a mountain out of a molehill is being created by design. A furor is trying to be created by design. This is the same case we successfully handled. Not we could say that the Honorable Court delivered a judgment and ultimately the issue was settled. Everybody has a freedom of clothing, freedom to wear a clothes of his own choice, but subject to reasonable restrictions. All fundamental rights granted under the Constitution of India, they are itself subject to reasonable restrictions. So every school, every institution has a right to impose its own set of disciplines. The same is the case with right to food, right to have a food of its own choice. Let's be very clear and categorical to say everybody has a fundamental right to have a food of its own choice. Some fringe elements, we neither own them, we neither, as you use the word, no, there's no case of any approval or acceptance. The police has taken cognizance of it. Police has registered a formal case, and the Honorable Chief Minister has also expressed concern. He has assured that I will also take care of it.
But you know, the question that is being asked, whether this is all by design and a part of an experiment
absolutely not, sir.
Of converting Karnataka into a hate laboratory.
The furor is being created by design. That's
okay. I'm going to come back. Yes, Mr. Pathani, I'm going to come back to you. Two of our panelists have not spoken. First of all, Professor Geeta Bhatt, your views.
Thank you for having me on your show. And well, I would like to say that, you know, there is an echo, if you can please get it corrected.
Sure.
You know, the Indian society, the Hindu society, you know, it has inclusivity rooted in its cultural values, in its civilizational values. But the present unrest that you are talking about and that we are seeing in Karnataka, I think, as the head of the Pejawara Mutt in Udupi, Tirtha Swamiji, and I'm sure none of you are going to consider him as a fringe. You know, he stated yesterday that it is, you know, the peace cannot be the burden of just one community, and peace cannot be achieved by one community. He gave a very long statement after some traders of the Muslim community went to him and requested him, and which he very humbly accepted, that, you know, they they also want to participate in the fair that takes place near their temple. He gave a very long statement where he said that the Hindus have been suffering for very, very long, and it is the reaction of the society that we are, you know, where these kind of decisions are being taken by the temple communities. So it is very important that it is both the communities who have to contribute in terms of deciding that, you know, that there has to be
the moment in terms of in a debate related to religion, the moment action, reaction, anger, counter anger, the moment such words are used, you know either it is a political experiment or it is a sign of weak leadership that things like these are happening. Now, whether it is happening by design or not, I think we can put that to a debate. But it is certainly happening. As Pooja Prasanna is saying, and she is the boots on the ground, she says that a weak leadership in the Karnataka Chief Minister has created a situation where he is taking no action. Now, is that the case? Or does the Chief Minister know what is happening and he is allowing it to happen for electoral gains? I think that is the debate. Very quickly, Mr. Nasir Hussain, your opening comments.
Sir, I'd like to start with Manava Kula Vande, what Mr. Veerappa Moily has said. I think this is Karnataka, and where this is the land of the Sufis and Sharanas. And here we have been, I would like to also add the Kuvempu, Sarva Janangada Shantiya Tota. It belongs to all religions, and here we have been living with utmost communal harmony, and the Basava philosophy and this Sufi philosophy. I think our culture is not like Uttar Pradesh or somewhere else where the Bharatiya Janata Party has experienced and tried all things. I would like to categorically make a statement which our leader Kumar Swamiji has made. The entire issue, the entire communal hate laboratory which has been made in Karnataka, the Chief Minister of Karnataka is acting like a puppet in the hands of the Hindu fundamentalist organizations, and the entire image of Karnataka, which has been known for its development, which is known for its brotherhood, I think the entire system, the Bharatiya Janata Party is spoiling it, just keeping in view the upcoming elections. Minus Yediyurappa, BJP knows that they are not going to come to power. They are playing. Oh,
that's an important point that you are saying, that minus Yediyurappa, they have created a situation.
They have realized that they are not coming to power.
So you're saying back to polarization to win elections. That's the allegation. By the way, I think I can safely speak on behalf of a fellow UPite, Sabha Naqvi, that you said that the BJP's politics may work in Uttar Pradesh. This formula may work in UP. I can very proudly tell you, Mr. Hussain, about my state, and so can Sabha say that this is the state of Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb.
Yeah.
right?
No,
so that is what we bring.
Yeah.
That is what we bring.
They have somehow scraped through.
No. So, no,
well,
Mr. Hussain,
I don't know.
Allow me to say one line. Allow me to say one line to Mr. Hussain. Mr. Sir, just hear me out. We also come from a place where we celebrate the syncretic culture, Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb, composite culture. But political projects, it doesn't mean all the people get polarized. You need a core number to be polarized. And then you need the rest to be indifferent. You need you cannot make that, you cannot sit back and say, oh, we are a place of Sufism. Should I tell you the stories of Uttar Pradesh? No. It was a place even today.
Okay.
You know, so
it's not a Karnataka versus UP fight. We are digressing.
Not a way to,
Yeah. You know, we all, okay, let's come to this conclusion. We all love our country, we all love our states, we all love our identity.
And UP
Mr. Pathania loves,
Mr.
Pathania loves his state. Professor Bhatt, Mr. Moily also. Mr. Moily, let me quickly come back to you. Do you agree with Mr. Hussain when he says that all of this is being done with elections in mind because the BJP feels that they may not be able to win the elections? And that is why this is not the incompetence of the Chief Minister of Karnataka, but a design on the part of the BJP to win elections. That's the allegation. What's your view?
Most unfortunately, this is what is happening. It's not but it is not exactly the truth element. Elements, some of those elements are mainstream in the BJP. That is why when the Halal question was raised in the assembly, the minister was saying that, I will consider it. What is that to consider? There are certain practices, certain phase.
But
even under the constitution, there are two categories. One is
the Karnataka government has said that this is a 2002 Congress party law. When the Congress was in power, that's when this law came into existence.
No. Even if the Congress party has come up with the law, it was wrong. I don't think that is a justification we need to take it. Question is, what is disturbing? The law and order will have to be handled by the Chief Minister. Chief Minister is like a mother. Like a mother, he has to act. And everybody belongs to the state. Not that, one community, other community, they belong to you or no. That is not the case. Law and order, like a mother, he has to have. Like mother's heart, he has to handle it. It is disturbed.
That's exactly my point.
One thing is that on the surface, what you see now,
my point is you may politically argue with the BJP, but an allegation being raised by them is that, and we can question them as to why they're taking this law forward, but they say the law was brought in by a Congress government in 2002. Now, why did your government feel the need to bring such a law which was so discriminatory?
No, you are referring to the the restriction about the vendors' right in the temples, isn't it?
Correct.
I think that's the one. They say that, but I have not seen that law. That it is being quoted, but it has been denied already. So I don't think any law of the land which goes against the fundamental rights. Under the Constitution, there are two types. One is fundamental right, and which is enumerated. Another is legal rights. I don't think legal rights can overrule the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution of India.
Let me bring in
this
Pooja
is what has to be referred
Pooja,
to.
Can you clarify what is the position? I mean, the BJP says that this law, they're just taking forward a law which was brought in by the Congress government in 2002 that openly says that Muslims must not sell near the Hindu temples.
I don't think there is any such law. I don't think.
What have you learned, Pooja?
Sanket, I just want to point out that this law is being misapplied, and we reported on this just a few days ago. I want to just read from this. We're talking about the Hindu Religious Institution and Charitable Endowments Act of 2002. That is the law that is being cited time and again. But if you go through the fine print, it only applies to leasing out of the temple ground, either on the temple property or land owned by the temples. So this does not apply to any kind of makeshift stalls that we are seeing, in fairs and other kind of jatre, as we call in Kannada, being forcefully evicted. So it is a law that was brought in when Congress was in power. But I think Mr. Moily probably was, at that point of time, not in state politics. But this does not apply to the current situation. So I think it's a very, very convenient misconstruing and misapplying of the law that the Karnataka government has been playing. And unfortunately, the opposition too here has not been taking them on. In fact, the Congress as well as JDS to a large extent have been sidestepping the issue.
Why do you think that happens? Is this the same? See, we saw this happening in Uttar Pradesh. We have seen this happen in other states also, that any Hindu-Muslim issue, and the Congress tries to sidestep, or other political parties also, that we should not wander into or wade into the BJP's territory. Do you think the same is happening in Karnataka?
No. I'd like to make it categorically.
Yeah, one more. I'll come to you. I'll come to you. First, Pooja. Pooja, do you think that the intention to sidestep is to not wade into the BJP's territory?
No, because I think it's a lose-lose situation for opposition parties. Because if they do take on the issues, and I'm saying this only politically, right?
Yeah.
If they do take on the issues, then they will be labeled as anti-Hindu, and they could lose to, they could stand to lose a large chunk of their votes. And if they perhaps, make their stand clear and do support the BJP, then of course BJP will go home saying that, we won. So they have thought of it to be easier to sidestep, which is why even in the assembly we saw them making, rightfully so, a big issue out of Ishwarappa's statements, but not enough was spoken about the hijab issue. Where,
very important. In fact, I can tell you about Uttar Pradesh also, where every political party refused to comment in the opposition about the hijab issue, because they felt that this is going to polarize the campaign and perhaps they may lose out on
I'd like to intervene
Mr. Hussain,
here.
very quickly, and then Captain Karnik. I've got a question for Captain
I would like to intervene
Mr.
here. Mr. Kumar Swamy.
Yes, Mr. Hussain. Oh, we've got a frozen frame on Mr. Hussain. We'll come back to him in just a short moment. But Captain Karnik, I want to come to you now.
Yes.
You see, it's not just the opposition. Captain Karnik, it's not. Can I have Mr. Captain Karnik on screen? Yes. So it's not it's not just the opposition. It's not just panelists. It's not just Mr. Harish Bijur. It's not just Kiran Majumdar Shaw. You have got Mr. Vishwanath, who is an MLC of the BJP. You have got Mr. Anil Benake, who is an MLA of the BJP, who are saying that this is not right. They are using words like economic apartheid. Your own leaders do not agree with what is happening in Karnataka. Captain Karnik.
What is your question? What is your question?
My question is that your own leaders are not satisfied with what is happening. There are open endorsements of the acts that are happening in Karnataka, and on the other hand, you have Mr. Vishwanath saying they're petty business people. What will they eat? Hindu, Muslim doesn't matter. It is a question of empty stomach. We have Muslims living in other countries too. What if other countries send Hindus back?
Mr. Upadhyay, please listen to me.
Sir.
This hijab issue was not started by what Pooja said, some fringe element. It did not start by Bajrang Dal.
No, you forget. I am talking about temple. I am talking about this whole thing over halal, jhatka.
Yes.
Fine. We have a judgment on hijab. Over. Let's concentrate on this.
People did not start selling halal products in Hindu society stalls also. They started it. Now the society is reacting. Government has nothing to do with. You're talking about Mr. Bomma is the decency. If there is a law and order issue, we are capable of handling it.
There is no society, it is Hindu activists. Hindu organizations.
The government has...
Society is very much happy with the old system.
Mr. Hussain is speaking. Let's have him on air, please.
Society is very much satisfied with the previous system. And Mr. Kumar Swamy has openly criticized the Hindutva organizations, and he has challenged the Chief Minister. He has said that if the Chief Minister is man enough, he should take action against the Hindutva organizations. He cannot see that the entire
I don't think this is about
spoiled and communalized.
I don't think this is about him being a man or a woman. It's about him being a chief minister. As simple as that.
No, that is what he has to act against the people who are spoiling the society.
Captain Karnik, very quickly, you tell me, Captain Karnik, whether it is the incompetence of one by one, please. Captain Karnik, Mr. Hussain, one moment. Captain Karnik, my question is, whether it is about the incompetence of the chief minister or tough action, as you say, and him controlling the point is your own MLAs and MLCs are now openly speaking against your government. Clearly something is not right.
Where is the question of CM's competence? There is no law and order issue. And this government is capable of finding any and order situation. You force certain things on the majority community, you start selling halal products, people want to ban it. You want...
How come suddenly you have... No, why? Again, the question here will be of timing. Mr. Moily, this sudden realization in a section of the Hindu community that we will only have jhatka and not halal. The question is of timing.
That means some new awakening for what? Which quarters it is coming? I think the point has come out now. Suppose we do it here, tomorrow suppose there are lakhs and lakhs of people who have gone from the coastal area to Dubai and many other Muslim countries. Suppose they practice the same and adopt this kind of a economic exclusion, what will happen? In fact, the electronic city was created by me when I was industry minister and also industry minister and small-scale industry minister. Thereafter, during chief minister, I also created, the ITPL that attracted, crores of investment. He created a big empire here in Karnataka. This kind of an economic exclusion and state politics is going to affect the economy of the state, which was to be number one in attracting investment from us. It will affect the FDI. It will affect they are all living like brothers and sisters. We have seen everywhere. Why should it disrupt the society? And it is a pure question of law and order. Who is responsible to maintain it? Not any other party except the party in power, and they alone to be blamed. I think they will have to come to senses. No, it is not going to give them any electoral dividend. If they think that it is going to give them electoral dividend, they are totally wrong. They are destroying themselves by this. Apart from losing the global leadership, which is given by the Karnataka government and the government state of Karnataka.
Okay, so you're saying, Mr. Moily is saying that the electoral dividends are not very high in this political game. Mr. Harish Bijur, you talked about business, IT, biotech, ITES. You're saying that all of this is going to just spell bad news for business.
Yes, sir. It certainly is bad news for business. Because, when I really look at the fact that Bengaluru, the city, the capital of Karnataka, houses a country of people, if not a world of people. There were people from 27 different Indian states. And we speak 23 languages. If I add Phantom and Java, it becomes 25. If you really look at, the way we look at business, we want peace. We want the pot not to be stirred. Because Bengaluru cannot afford any kind of jingoism. We are too mixed. But
Mr. Bijur, do you think more and more industrialists from Bengaluru, do you think more and more industrialists, more and more corporates should come out and speak about this openly? You had a Miss Kiran Majumdar-Shaw.
I think
but then I haven't heard very many people speak very openly.
Well, let me put it this way. The business of business people is business. And most of the time, business people like to focus on business and don't like to get involved in much more than that.
But if they don't speak up, then they will have no business, according to you.
I agree with you. But the point is, we can't afford language jingoism, region versus region, or religion versus religion. Why stir the pot? Let's not. Peace and quiet is the best elixir for good business for Bengaluru. And adds certainty to that.
Anywhere
because
else,
business people love certainty.
Bad economics, good politics perhaps, but very, very bad economics, and ultimately it will bring disrepute to Karnataka. Such a jewel in India's crown, and why would anyone want to do this? Mr. Pathania, I want to come to you now.
I'd like to come in.
Sir, yes, one more. Mr. Pathania first.
My respectful submission, we are a political party which believes in the politics of performance. We don't believe in the politics of disclusion or religious divide or anything else. Please contest us on the issues of performance.
Where is a strong statement from the central leadership of the BJP?
Sir,
where is a very strong action, decisive action
I'll
against the Chief Minister?
Can you?
Where is the strong action from the Chief Minister?
If the BJP is really committed, there are stray incidents happening with regard to co-vigilantism. But a statement from the highest, from the Prime Minister's mouth came on the issue of co-vigilantism. Now there was Haridwar hate speech. You kept us on defensive in a series of debates and discussions that ultimately from the highest, the RSS, Shri Mohan Bhagwat ji came out with a statement and virtually disassociated itself from it. My respectful submission, sir, please don't make political hay while the sun shines. My respectful submission to all the political parties, sir. We are a party which believes in the politics of performance. Contest us on Bijli, contest us on Pani, contest us on Saral. We believe in inclusive politics. We don't believe in divide. This is not a
So
brand.
you are saying that BJP has nothing to do with this?
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's very Mr. Hussain and then Sabah Naqvi, please. Yes. Mr. Hussain.
I have to challenge Bharatiya Janata Party. If they are really committed towards the Jhatka or the halal meat, let them expose that India is the highest beef exporter, mutton exporter. Let them tell that the meat which is being supplied is a Jhatka meat. Scientifically, I would not like to explain whether halal meat, the method used in the halal meat is right or the Jhatka meat
don't
is right.
make political hay. Come, contest us on issues of performance.
BJP.
Contest on Bijli, contest on Pani, contest on Sadak, contest on GDP, sir.
Very good. You should tell this to Mr. Bommai. You should tell this to Mr. Bommai.
Don't try to, please don't, sir, please don't try to issues just out of design. The furor and the backlash created by the opposition party, this is by design. You want to make political hay, this is by design. This is by design, sir. You want to make political hay, this is by design, sir.
Government, the exports of meat have increased.
No, I don't know what is by design. What is happening right now, Sabah Naqvi, what is happening right now in Karnataka, or the questions being asked of the government?
The furor and the backlash is by design. This is what I'm saying, sir. This is what
I'm saying. One by one, please. Gentlemen, this is a bad way of doing a debate, please. We can't speak over one another. Nobody will understand what the other is saying.
Everyone wants Bijli, Pani, Sadak, employment, women empowerment.
Okay, Mr. Hussain, you have spoken. Sabah Naqvi, please.
I just want to make a very quick point. I think Mr. Pathania is from Himachal and he may not, I mean, he should, he's not kept up to pace, but C.T. Ravi is a BJP leader who I've actually met in Karnataka in the last election.
Savaji is a Dogra, Jammu and Kashmir, and he loves his state.
I'm so sorry.
Like people from Karnataka love Karnataka.
I was just thinking
he loves Jammu and Kashmir.
Because you're being very... Now, so C.T. Ravi is the gentleman who I met in the last Karnataka election. And he has said that halal, he has made very well. So you cannot detach the BJP from it, sir. However, having said that, Sanket, what I think we must not lose sight of the fact that we are sitting here after 9 petrol hikes, after joblessness, all of this, and we discuss these issues all the time. So to an extent, the BJP has its agenda. We are all reduced to discussing on 9 petrol hikes in 10 days.
No, 250 rupees price hike in commercial cylinder. 400 rupees hike in normal cylinder.
And
toll
here
tax
we are discussing. Yeah, exactly. So we are going to keep people in the throes of identity.
Milk price increase, Maggie price increase, everything is going up.
Absolutely. And one of the panelists who I like, I mean, we've been there. She keeps on saying Hindu society is in danger from what? But anyway, that's fine. I keep hearing it. It's so there is this whole project. Hindus are in danger somehow. No, Geeta, I'm not having a serious point with you. I'm talking generally. I'm making an editorial. Please don't argue with me about Hindu and Muslim. Please save me tonight. I'm making a larger point. We're not talking about petrol. We're not talking all of this. Geeta, please drop it.
No, but the point is, no, I have to, Sabah, I have to give her a right to reply.
Okay. No, of course she's allowed to a right to reply.
In all fairness, right to reply of Professor Geeta Bhatt.
Yeah, of course she has.
Professor Bhatt's right to reply, please. Please carry on. Professor
Yeah,
Bhatt.
first of all, it was not my statement. I was basically quoting Tirtha Swamiji, you know. I was not quoting. It was not my statement. It is he who has said that peace cannot be the burden of only one community. And I want to, Sanketji, put forth very quickly 3 points over here. Now, time and again it is being said regarding the, hijab issue. You see, what has happened is no one is here considering that when the High Court has given its judgment, it is the Muslim traders who had, closed their shops in protest to this judgment which had come. And it is in response, you see, you cannot disregard the response of the society. You know, there are different communities in it, and the communities are responding. So they responded by shutting down their shops, saying that they are against this judgment. That means they came out in the support of the hijab. Now, in response to that, another community felt that they felt that they are being heard, that there are certain norms which are being imposed upon them.
And all this while, what should a sitting government do?
Please allow me to speak.
No, one moment. Professor Geeta Bhatt, while this action-reaction conversation, is very dangerous.
No, I want
all this while, what was the sitting government doing?
20 seconds.
Letting this play out.
Give me 20 seconds at least. No, I want to give you one example. I want to just tell you, when Mr. Moily is there, I want to just remind him that when Mr. Siddaramaia's Congress government was there in 2018, in Chikmagalur Hills, there is a very famous shrine called Dattatreya Swami Pitha. And by notification, the Congress government had made a Muslim the head of that shrine. It went to the Karnataka High Court, and Karnataka High Court quashed it, saying that this is creating disharmony in the society, and seeing the shrine and what is the history of the shrine, that Hindu should be made the head priest over here. So these are the kind of things which has happened in the past.
Okay.
In the Congress
Mr. Moily is right to reply.
Mr. Moily, I would like to tell you that what is important is that no one is going. What is important is that communities need to come together and resolve these kind of tensions.
Let's take in a comment from Mr. Moily also. Mr. Moily, would you like to respond?
I think Geeta Bhatt referred to my name. I think I should answer. She should understand his speech. What is the under with utmost continuous harmony. Both Muslims and Hindus used to go to the temple without any disturbance. I think BJP had to come to power, or BJP had to come into existence, then disrupt that harmony, which was between Hindus and Muslims. Now, of course, it is before the court. In view of the court decision only, Siddaramaiah issued that order. Whether it's right or not, that is not the question. But what is the issue? There was utmost harmony for hundreds of years with regard to that Dattatreya temple. Who it is
wrong. It is wrong.
They led this movement.
It is wrong.
And disrupt the whole atmosphere. Now it is no more a harmonious place. It's a disturbed place. Do you want to convert all these temples into a disturbed place? Or a peaceful place? Where everybody, we pray God for peace. And
a Muslim
it doesn't exist. This is the kind of deception, our people, our friends would like to do. I'm most unfortunate.
He's making a very wrong statement.
Captain Karnik's response. Please carry on. Captain Karnik.
Mr. Moily made a very wrong statement. Siddaramaiah government appointed a Muslim person there in Baba Budangiri in the Dattatreya Pitha, which was questioned by the Hindus in the court, and court ordered to appoint one Hindu priest. Whatever you call it, anything, it is Dattatreya Pitha, it is not Durga.
What was the need to disturb the peaceful, cordial relations with Hindu and Muslim worshipping Dattatreya Pitha during Dattatreya Pitha? Such a great example of the country that has been destroyed today.
Economics, everything is the responsibility of everybody. It can't be the responsibility of one community. You go and protect CIA. Months together you stall everything, nobody talks of economics. On hijab you create
disruption is the philosophy of these people.
You start banning Jio, you demand banning Reliance.
Okay, last 7 minutes of this discussion. Let me now come to you one by one and ask you a simple question. If this, one moment, if this is by design.
Today if something happens, you take it for a debate.
Okay.
There is no design. There is only one design of separatism.
Captain Karnik. every time.
Yes.
In every
There
state.
is absolutely no design. There is no design. And this is happening as a reaction from the society. The design was there in CIA.
And are we to expect the state government to just sit back and explain that this is just a reaction of the society?
Government will take
Will you not
action
step in?
at the right time.
Pooja Prasanna, I want to come to you now. One by one. Last 6 minutes in this discussion. Pooja Prasanna, if this is by design, Captain Karnik feels it is not by design. If this is by design, to stir a communal pot, to polarize ahead of elections, will it necessarily work? See, it did not work in Uttar Pradesh. It did not work in Uttar Pradesh. They started doing it, but by the second phase, the BJP realized it's not working. Shift gears, change to something else. What about Karnataka?
At this point of time, it looks like that is the only narrative. So, it's if you look at the last 1 year or so, Sanket, it could have been the anti-conversion row. It could have been, the hijab row. There is also a proposal to bring to free temples from state, clutches, as they're calling it. So there are a long list of projects that the BJP seems to have in its bag, and it looks like this is all they will have till the elections, one after the other. They will keep bringing up so that the larger issues are not addressed. How well will it work? Well, I think it might not work to a large extent. It's probably a little too soon to assess that just yet. Because at the end of the day, the ones who are taking part in these agitations are people who are already part of several of these right-wing, organizations. It could have been Bajrang Dal, it could have been, Vishwa Hindu Parishad and the like. But I think
Campus Front of India. Why are you not mentioning?
You tell me.
I agree that Campus Front of India did start the hijab row. The 6 girls were petitioners.
Captain Karnik, my question is, if there is an organization spreading trouble, who is in charge of law and order in that state?
Exactly.
Who is in charge? If they are spreading trouble, arrest them, take action.
The government itself is spreading trouble.
This PFI, last time I checked, was not in power in Karnataka. The BJP was. So it becomes important to point out the role of BJP leaders, including some very senior leaders in all of these controversies, who have gotten on the street and taken part in huge protests. So that needs to be pointed out.
Okay, Sabha Naqvi, I want to come to you now. Do you feel that if this is a communal plot, if this is an attempt to polarize, do you think it will work in Karnataka? What's your assessment?
I mean, one really doesn't know. Like I've said, Sanket, we've both had experience of watching these things work and fail. And it is indeed true that you need a certain core number, which is your cadre. And it's also a project beyond politics, is also to redefine certain sensibilities in India about the Chikmagalur shrine, because I've done a lot of work on syncretic cultures. I've written field work. It is one of those disputed syncretic shrines. There is also a Sufi saint associated with it and a Hindu Peeth, and I've been there. They're very beautiful. You go through these coffee plantations and then you reach this which should have been a symbol of unity, but it has for a long time been a symbol of division. So there are a couple of flashpoints in Karnataka. There's the coastal area, there's this. In Bangalore, you have this great new BJP figure emerging who comes and attacks the chief minister of Delhi's home, blah, and so on and so forth. There is a history where certain Muslim monuments are there in parts of Bijapur, gorgeous monuments, by the way. Bijapur, there are jewels over there of the, So there are flashpoints there. Whether society is as communalized, whether society, I don't know at this point. But my guess would be, and I think the reporter from News Minute would have a much, when I ask my friends over there, look, but my own experience is it's unpredictable. And this whole thing, that you are not, UP also had beautiful things. It still does. I've traveled all over in a so-called, it still does. We still have language, culture, music, all of that is a lot of it comes from a joint civilization past. But things fall apart.
Okay, Harish Bijur.
Yeah.
Harish Bijur, I want to ask you, do you think that whatever the political motive may be, it is going to cause considerable amount of economic damage to the state. Mr. Biju.
I think economic damage is given if we allow this to continue for a longer period of time. Because, this can be quelled, and this is the time to quell it. Because, this can become a
What do you expect from the political stakeholders, Mr. Biju? What should ideally the Prime Minister be doing right now, or the State Chief Minister be doing right now, or the central leadership? By the way, Mr. Amit Shah is in Karnataka. What should he be saying right now?
Yes. No,
how do you send that positive message?
I strongly believe that this is a state issue. Law and order is a state issue. The Chief Minister of Karnataka holds the mantle of that. And I think that is where decision-making and decision-taking will come by. And I think when it comes to elections, I think nothing like development as a key issue. Maybe I'm being politically naive, and my political naivete is speaking, but nothing opposes development. Let's focus on that. And I think the business that Bengaluru produces, the business that Karnataka produces, the business that this magnet city of Bengaluru produces is wide and deep. Let's focus on that.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us on this discussion. Let's just hope that better sense prevails and there is tough action. You see, if this is not by design, and there'll be arguments for and against, if this is not by design, then this is a matter of inaction. Then there'll be a debate around incompetence. And those questions have to be answered. And in all these cases, the question will be asked of the Chief Minister, because it is your duty to ensure that there is no trouble. Thank you very much for joining us on this debate. Some comments on the Coup app as well, where Rohit Kapoor, and I would like to say this, that these are comments from our viewers and commentators on the Coup app. Not necessarily our view. Rohit says, is Karnataka on the way to be another Gujarat spreading communal exclusion? Tushar says, Karnataka is also working like laboratory where experiments happen, but they fail in bringing a positive outcome. What do you feel? Please go to the Coup app and write down. Thank you very much for watching this edition of The Big Fight. Good night.